I am not sure if I should be telling you this, but here it goes. I was curious, maybe too curious for my own good. I had heard about the dark web, a place where you could buy anything you wanted. Drugs, weapons, even people. It sounded like something out of a movie, and I wanted to see it for myself. So, I downloaded Tor and started exploring. At first, it was just like any other website. Some forums here and there, a few online shops. But then, I stumbled upon a website that was different. It was all black, and there was no way to navigate it except for a small text box. I typed in Red Room and hit enter. What I saw next is something I will never be able to forget. The page loaded, and I was greeted with a live video stream of a man tied to a chair in a dark room. He was screaming, begging for mercy, but the people on the other side of the camera seemed to enjoy it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't. It was like I was stuck there, watching this horrific scene unfold in front of me. It was then that I realized that I had stumbled upon something truly evil. This was not a place for the curious, it was a place for the sick and twisted. I quickly closed my laptop, feeling sick to my stomach. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. I had gone too far, and I knew I could never go back. I had seen the darkness that lurked on the other side of the internet, and it had left a mark on me. From that day on, I made a promise to myself to never venture into the dark web again. It was not worth the risk, and I had seen enough to know that I never wanted to see it again. The internet may be a vast and wondrous place, but there are some things that should never be explored. But my curiosity got the better of me. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen. The image of that poor man tied to the chair haunted me. I knew that I shouldn't go back, but I couldn't help myself. I had to see more, to find out what other secrets the dark web held. I started browsing again, and before I knew it, I had found myself on another website. This one was even darker than the last. It was filled with grotesque images of torture and death, and the text was written in a language that I couldn't even begin to understand. I felt like I was in over my head, but I couldn't look away. As I scrolled down the page, my heart began to race. I felt like I was being watched, like someone was watching me from the other side of the screen. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. But still, I kept scrolling. That's when I saw it. A message had appeared on the screen, written in that same foreign language. I didn't know what it said, but I knew that it couldn't be good. My laptop suddenly shut off, and the room was plunged into darkness. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead as I fumbled for my phone, trying to turn on the flashlight. But my hands were shaking so badly that I dropped it. I was alone, in the dark, with no way to defend myself. That's when I heard it. A soft scraping sound, like something being dragged across the floor. It was coming from the hallway, getting closer and closer. I knew that I had to get out of there, but my legs felt like lead. I was frozen in fear. The door to my room creaked open, and I saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was tall and shadowy, and I couldn't make out its features. It started walking towards me, slowly and deliberately. I screamed and ran for the door, pushing past the figure and running down the hallway. I didn't stop until I was outside, gasping for air. I looked back at the house, but there was no sign of the figure. It was like it had disappeared into thin air. I never went back to the dark web after that. The experience had left me traumatized, and I knew that I had narrowly escaped something much worse than I could have ever imagined. I learned my lesson the hard way, and I hope that anyone who reads this will take it as a warning. The dark web is not a place for the curious, it is a place for the damned. As the days went by, I tried to convince myself that it was all just my imagination. That I had simply scared myself and that there was no way that what I had seen was real. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had ventured too far into the unknown, and now I was paying the price. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faceless figure standing in my doorway. I could hear the scraping sound of its footsteps echoing in my mind. I knew that it was just a matter of time before it came back for me. I started to see things out of the corner of my eye. Shadows that seemed to move on their own, strange noises coming from the walls. I couldn't tell if it was my imagination or if something was really there. One night, I woke up to find that my laptop had turned on by itself. The screen was black, but I could feel a presence behind it. I tried to turn it off, but it wouldn't budge. That's when I heard a whisper, soft and menacing. "Did you think you could just leave? You belong to us now." I screamed and ran out of the room, but I knew that there was no escape. The dark web had claimed me as its own, and I was powerless to fight back. Days turned into weeks, and I felt like I was losing my mind. The figure was always there, lurking in the shadows, watching me. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was consumed by fear and paranoia. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to go to the police and tell them everything. But when I got to the station, they looked at me like I was crazy. They told me that there was nothing they could do, that the dark web was beyond their jurisdiction. I felt hopeless, like I was trapped in a nightmare that would never end. But then, something strange happened. The figure stopped appearing. The noises and shadows disappeared. It was like the dark web had lost interest in me. I don't know what happened, but I am grateful that it's over. I have learned my lesson, and I hope that others will take my story as a warning. The dark web is not something to be taken lightly. It is a place of pure evil, and once it has its claws in you, it will never let go. After that terrifying experience, I became obsessed with finding out more about the dark web. I couldn't let go of the fear and curiosity that had consumed me. I spent hours reading articles and watching videos about the hidden depths of the internet, trying to understand what had happened to me. One day, I came across a forum where people were sharing their own experiences with the dark web. There were stories of people disappearing, of strange symbols etched into their skin, of possessions and hauntings. It was like a never-ending horror story. As I read through the posts, I noticed that one person's story stood out to me. They claimed to have been haunted by a faceless figure, just like the one that had tormented me. They had managed to escape its grasp by performing a ritual, and they shared the instructions for it on the forum. I knew that it was risky, but I felt like I had nothing to lose. I followed the instructions, gathering the necessary items and performing the ritual in the dead of night. As I recited the words, I felt a chill run down my spine. It was like something was listening, and it was not happy. But I persevered, and when I was done, I waited. Nothing happened at first, but then I heard a loud banging on my door. I hesitated for a moment, but then I remembered the person's warning. If I opened the door, the figure would be waiting for me. So, I waited until the banging stopped, and I knew that it was safe to leave. I never saw the faceless figure again, and the noises and shadows disappeared for good. But something had changed in me. I had seen things that I could never unsee, and I had learned that there are forces in the world that we cannot comprehend. The dark web had opened my eyes to a darker side of reality, and I would never be the same again.